Hey, 8th grade. Today we're going to talk about two-step equations. Last week we got pretty good with one-step equations where we had to either add, subtract, multiply, or divide in order to solve for a variable. Today we're going to look at what happens if you have to do two operations. So the first thing I'd like us to consider is our order of operations. We know last year I stressed GEMDAS to you, which told us if we needed to solve some things, we would do grouping symbols first, then we would do exponents, then multiply and divide, then add, subtract. So this year, as we go into solving two-step equations, we're going to flip it. Think about with our one-step equations. If we were adding something to x, we would do the opposite, so we would subtract. If we multiplied y by something, we had to do the opposite, so we divided. So just like we use the opposite operation, we're going to use the opposite order of operations, and that's where we bring in SADMEG. SADMEG is our opposite operations. We subtract and add, then we divide and multiply, then we have exponents, then we do our grouping symbols. There she is, SADMEG, here to help us with our inverse operations. So let's take our first equation here, 2x plus 4 equals 14. And you will note that these are all equations, not expressions, which is why we're using the inverse operations. So SADMEG says first we have to subtract or add. So let's look on the same side as x. Our goal is always to get x by itself. Think about your x's. You don't necessarily wish them the happiest. Let's let them be by themselves, huh? So we've got our x here that we want it to be by itself. We need to subtract and add. So we subtract 4. Subtract 4. Just kidding, by the way, we can wish our x as well, but it's a nice way to remember what to do. So we have plus 4 and a minus 4. Those are additive inverses. We know that's going to give us 0. When adding and subtracting, we like to get to 0. That gives us 2x on the left-hand side. And then 14 minus 4 gives us 10. On this side, we want to keep it balanced. So whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. So this is telling us 2 times x equals 10. So we ask ourselves, what do I multiply by 2 to get to 10? We know this is 5. If it were something a little bit trickier, say there was a fraction or a decimal involved, we would undo the multiplication, because multiplication and division comes next, by dividing by 2. And then we find out 2 divided by 2 is 1. So 1x is equal to 5. Thanks, Meg. Let's do one more example where we have that x being multiplied by something. And remember, of course, this works for any variable, not just x. That's just the letter we like to use as mathematicians. So let's try 6x minus 2 equals 28. So let's go consult Meg. What does she say we need to do? SADMEG says we subtract and add. So what's happening on the same side as x? We are subtracting 2. Let's get that to 0 by adding 2. Think of it like a balance. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. We want to keep it balanced. So negative 2 and positive 2 are additive inverses. That leaves us with 6x on the left-hand side and 30 on the right-hand side. Our next step, we're going to divide and multiply. So what's happening to x? 6 times x. We undo it by dividing. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. Divide it out and we're left with x equals 5. Thank you, Meg. We are going to do one more example here to show you what happens when your variable is being divided. So let's say we've got the equation x divided by 5 plus 2 equals 102, or x over 5 plus 2 equals 102. So the first thing SADMEG tells us to do is to subtract and add. So what's being subtracted or added to x? It's 2. We will undo the addition by subtracting. Plus 2 minus 2, those are additive inverses. That leaves us with x divided by 5 on this side. And we subtract 2 from here, and that leaves us with 100. So now we need to undo our next step, division and multiplication. Undo dividing by 5. Remember, fraction bar, division symbol. How many times did I tell you last year? 1,000,000. So we will undo this by multiplying both sides by 5. When we multiply by 5 and divide by 5, that gives us 1. So x equals 100 times 5, or 500. Thank you very much, Meg. You've been a wonderful helper. Thank you, guys. Let me know if you have any questions.